So Aldebaran is actually a giant star found in the constellation of Taurus, and it's only 65 light years away from the Earth, which means that since it's only that far away, it should be pretty bright. And further adding to its brightness, it is also a giant star, which means that its radius is somewhere around 44 times that of a sun. That's huge. And with that, this means that the star is actually the 14th brightest star in our night sky. And that's not bad considering how many of the stars are out there. So in this video, let's learn about Aldebaran. So I think my last few videos were a bit too technical with a lot of astronomy stuff inside them, like the stellar classification, the universal coordinates, equatorial coordinates, and I think if we have learned this much, a star video was long due. And all of this would actually go to the waste if we didn't use it. Now Aldebaran is actually found in the constellation of Taurus, which is the famous bull. And it is actually an Arabic name which means the follower. Now this probably came from the fact that if you look at its position in the night sky, it's just right next to the Pleiades star cluster, the Seven Sisters. So just from the historical perspective, if you observe the night sky, it would kind of look like that it follows it through the sky as the Earth rotates. Taurus is actually a very old constellation. In fact, so old that if you look at this picture of the bull, you probably remember that it was quite prevalent in the history books. But according to some resources, it is also believed that it might be the bull which is depicted in the cave paintings of Lascaux, France, which are quite ancient. Now let's see the position of Aldebaran in the night sky. Now Aldebaran is a bright star and is actually the 14th brightest star in the night sky. So it means that it won't be that much of a problem finding it. And it also means that it is also the brightest star in its own constellation of Taurus. So the easy way to go about it would be actually to look at your night sky, if possible in the winter months, and try to locate the Orion constellation. Now that's an easy spot because right at its center are actually the three bright stars which almost kind of form a straight line. And if you extend this straight line out to upwards in the sky, what you'll have is, if you keep going in that direction, you'll come across a bright star and this constellation of Taurus. So there you'll have Aldebaran. But if you're still confused with it, right next to that is also the famous Pleiades star cluster. Now this Pleiades star cluster and the Orion constellation are quite helpful in finding them, and right in the middle of it somewhere you'll have the Taurus. So Taurus would be actually forming a Roman letter 5 kind of shape, and with that right at its center with the brightest star, the bull's eye, would be the Aldebaran. Now the hard way would be obviously, if you know the coordinates, it is a right ascension 4 hours 35 minutes 55.2 seconds and declination of about 16 degrees 30 minutes and 33 seconds. So it's not that high above the celestial equator. So now since you have located Taurus, you would actually be looking at the Hyades star cluster. This 5 Roman letter 5 shape here. Now the Hyades star cluster and Aldebaran, though they kind of look same, but Aldebaran is actually not the part of Hyades star cluster. It's just a perspective thing because the Aldebaran is only 65 light years away, while the Hyades star cluster is about 153 light years. That's more than double. So with that kind of distance, what is actually happening here is that Aldebaran just falls in our line of sight with the Hyades star cluster. So let's look at the star's characteristics and finally putting the use to the knowledge which we have gained from the last few videos. If in case you haven't checked them out, just click right here or here. Now Aldebaran is actually a K5 giant star and is somewhat of the orangish color. Now its stellar classification suggests that it should be a cooler star with a surface temperature a bit lower than our Sun. And it is. It's about 4000 kelvins. While comparing it to the Sun, our Sun has a temperature of 5780 kelvins. That's a good difference. Now since it's a giant star, its diameter is about 44 times that of our Sun. So it's quite huge. And with that, it's also a bit more massive, with its mass of about 1.7 solar masses. However, because of its size, it's also a fairly luminous star, with its luminosity about 425 times that of the Sun. Now with that kind of luminosity and brightness, it is actually under the luminosity classification of class 3. So let's locate this star's position on the HR diagram. This is the diagram here, and where should this be? Well, actually just right here, because this is the K, and then according to its luminosity, it should be somewhat around here. Now, the position of the Aldebaran on the celestial sphere also happens to be around the ecliptic of the Sun. So, what this means is that as Sun moves around the ecliptic throughout the year, there is a good chance of having a great number of occultations and conjunctions with different planets, moons, and obviously the Sun. Now, Aldebaran might also be a multiple star system, with the other companions much fainter and much smaller than it. And it is also believed that it hosts a massive exoplanet, which has a mass of somewhere around 6 times that of our Jupiter. That's quite heavy. So I think that's pretty much it. That's enough for Aldebaran. And what's the next star do you want to know about? So till then, happy stargazing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.